In the previous videos, we've talked about why we do referencing and how to avoid plagiarism. This series of videos focuses on the Harvard system of referencing. Different faculties at Brookes use different systems, but Harvard is one of the most widely used. So the first thing to note is there isn't just one style of Harvard referencing. There are lots of slightly different styles. So we've chosen one, called it Brookes Harvard, and it's based on the online tool and printed book called Cite Them Right. So that's an online guide to the particular version of Harvard referencing that we use at Brookes. Harvard referencing styles do have one thing in common though, which is that they all have two parts to the reference. So in Harvard referencing, you'll always have an in-text citation, which is just after the point where you mention a source in the text of your assignment. And that gives the basic details of the source, usually the author and the date. And that tells the reader where they can look to find the full details. So then they might go to your reference list or your bibliography, which gives all the details of that source so that someone can find it. So the clever bit about that is that your reference list will be organised alphabetically by author. And so the author that you mention in the in-text citation, someone can just go to that letter of the alphabet in your reference list to very easily find the details of that source. Here's an example of referencing in the Brookes Harvard style. So you can immediately see we've got the two parts of the reference. We've got the in-text citation and we've got the full reference, which should go in your reference list at the end of your assignment. So a recent study found that many students find referencing to be mysterious and opaque. Hopefully by the end of this set of videos you won't find that, but this is just an example of incorporating a source into your sentence. So we've got the student's own words, a recent study found that, and then we've got this particular quotation, mysterious and opaque, that's been taken from the article. In the in-text citation directly afterwards, we've got three pieces of information. So we've got the surnames of the authors of the article. So you only need the surnames, you don't need the first names or first initial, it should only be their surnames. Then you've got the date that the article was published, the year, and then you've got a page reference. Now you only need to include that when you've used a direct quote. So because we've used those words mysterious and opaque, which are taken directly from the article, we've included a page reference to make that easier to find. Quite often you don't need to include a page reference. It depends on whether or not you have used a direct quote. Moving on to the reference, as it appears in your reference list at the end, we can see we've got a lot more information. We've got the author's initials as well as their surnames. We've got the date again. We've got the title of the article, the title of the journal, the volume number, the issue number, and the page range, so the start page and end page of that article. We'll go through that in much more detail in the video specifically on journal article referencing. So don't worry too much about the detail at the moment, but this is just an example to show you those two parts, the in-text citation and the reference.